Hi, I'm Sarah Luthy, and this is the Pricing on the Cake.
Welcome to episode 9 of the Pricing on the Cake, the show that's all about growing a profitable business confidently. I'm Courtney Deegan, and today on the show, I'm chatting to business coach Sarah Luthy. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, so I am a business coach for creative women. I have a background in the wedding industry. I started my floral business a few years ago and went through so many ups and downs and realized along the way how tricky it can be to grow a successful and profitable business. So I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of highs and lows, as I said, and realized along the way how much I loved the business side of things, probably more than I love the wedding flower industry. So that's kind of brought me to what I'm doing now, and that's business coaching. I help women create businesses that they love. I help them create businesses that attract clients that are actually going to pay them what they're worth. So that's kind of been my journey going from, $500 clients to $5,000 clients and plus.
Mm.
And I think, there's so much strategy involved in that. And that's what I really, really love helping women unpack and help them create businesses that are going to help them work with the clients that they love to work with and make the money that they want to make.
That's awesome. There's so much in there, and there's like 1,000 questions
Yeah.
flying through my brain. But I remember, watching you grow, in the floral business that you had, and then the journey you went through in terms of deciding whether you wanted to change and how to make the change to go from being someone who was a creative business owner to someone who's now helping other women as a business coach and helping them in their business. So tell me about, the thought process behind that. How did you come to a place where you decided to change your business completely?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, as I said, I think I found over the years, as much as I love weddings and I love what I do, and that's kind of my creative outlet, I'm definitely a creative at heart, and I still love doing that. But I think I found that what lit me up even more was the business side of things. And I had a lot of people come to me along the way asking for free advice. How do you book clients? How did you build a business so quickly? Blah, blah,
Mm,
blah. And I mean, I was more than happy to help them, and I was more than happy to kind of share what I had learned and share my experience. And I guess I found that number one, I really enjoyed doing that, but also
mm,
found over time that number two, I deserve to be compensated for that. And I just found myself, or I guess I realized that, okay, I love this. I'm good at it. People are coming to me for advice. Maybe this is a business here in the future. And
yeah.
I mean, it was terrifying starting this second business. And I
Mm.
remember messaging you, Courtney, and I was like, oh my gosh, like how do I even do this? And selling to a business is so different to selling to a bride. And that's obviously a whole other conversation. But
Yeah.
I think I just realized this is what I feel I'm called to do. And I think the floral business was probably more of a stepping stone to kind of get me
Mm.
to what I'm doing now, which is always so interesting hearing about people's journeys. And often people don't stay in the thing that they start off doing, as I'm sure you can relate to as well.
Yes, absolutely. I know that my own business has gone through, at least one major change so far, and it's only a couple of years old as well. And so that's very common, for people in the
Mm,
first year or two in their business to have those kind of big changes coming in. You mentioned before that, you know what you do, that you're good at what you do, and you deserve to be paid well for it. There's so much confidence in there, and I love that. I love that you have that confidence and you believe that you deserve to be paid well for what you do. A lot of female entrepreneurs struggle to have that kind of confidence. Could you share for our listeners how you found that confidence, or things that have helped you to feel really confident enough to charge the prices that you charge?
I think I think you go through a process when you're an entrepreneur where you realize how much time and energy you're investing into your business. And I think that often people start off kind of saying, but I love it. I love what I do. So I'm happy to
Mm,
earn a lower amount of money because I just love it. And
yes.
it feels like a hobby, I'm happy to do it. And I mean, I can understand, the thought behind that process, but I think it really is about valuing your own time. And the fact of the matter is, you could be doing something and being paid for it, or you could be doing something and not being paid for it. And if you're doing that, is that taking away from, potentially doing more things that bring more joy to your life? That's
Yeah.
taking you away from time with your kids, or time with your husband, or even time investing back into your business. So
Yeah.
I think I just kind of realized, if I'm going to work, one-on-one with clients, or create these flowers, I want it to be worth my time, because that's taking away from either working like on the business and not necessarily in the business, like working on the business, or
Yeah.
it's taking me away from things that I want to be doing, and that's spending time with my family. So I think I just kind of realized over time that, if I'm going to be doing something, I want it to be worth it. And,
Yeah.
and Courtney, I know you always come back to, the value that you're providing. And I think it's been hard to learn that, but I think I've realized over time that, I am providing value for these people, and like that deserves to be compensated for. I
Yeah.
should be compensated for that. So it's not an
Absolutely.
easy process. I wish I could say,
No.
just be confident in your pricing, like just charge high prices, and it's not always
Mm.
that easy. But I think it's definitely a process that you navigate through.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned value, which I love. I'm so glad that you brought that up. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of small business owners do find the concept a little bit confusing or confronting sometimes. It can be really hard to value ourselves. We know what we do so well. We're so comfortable in what we do. We're so comfortable with the jargon that we use and the terminology that we're familiar with, that it can be hard for us to make that transition from thinking within our own mind to thinking about how our buyers think about it and how our buyers value us. So tell me a little bit about, what do you think about value in terms of how your customers value you? How did you find out the value of what you do to your clients?
Mm, I guess from a coaching perspective, you can download all of the freebies. You can spend hours, more than hours, weeks, years scrolling through free content on the internet. And that could teach you what you need to know, but how long is that going to take you? And I
Mm,
think I have realized over time that having, that one-on-one support with a coach, and I have a business coach, you have a business coach, having that support is really invaluable. It's
yeah.
customized to the person, it's personalized for the person. Just having that one-on-one guidance support, knowing that person is there, you can bounce ideas off them. And really, they're going to help you get from point A to point B a lot quicker than if you were
Yeah.
to just consume all of the free content. And I think when, when we're talking about coaching or any kind of service, when you're providing a service, that is what you're providing for your client. You're not necessarily providing the content as such, because they could get
Mm,
similar content from so
yeah.
many other places. And that's been a huge, I guess, insecurity that I've had to overcome as I've stepped into
Hmm.
coaching, because I've been thinking, I need to think of these, world changing, mind blowing new ideas to teach. And that's not necessarily the case,
Mm,
although a huge part of it is like teaching and showing people what they need to do. A even bigger part of that is drawing the best out of them and helping them get to the destination, based on where they're at. So I think that's been a huge thing for me to realize, is that like that process and that support is invaluable, and that's what they're paying for. It's not necessarily like, you know, the dot point, bullet point things that you're providing
yeah.
for them.
All the
Um,
sessions that you're giving them and things like that.
yeah. And I guess from like a floral perspective, for, I guess that's more of a product based business, a bit more of a service. I know it's kind of both. My flower business is both, but for example, for anyone who's listening who has that kind of business set up, a bride could go to the flower markets and she could purchase, buckets of blooms, but then she's got to put them together, right? She's not had
Yeah.
any experience. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's got to get her hands dirty the day before her wedding. She's got to stay
Mm,
up till midnight trying to process these flowers. She doesn't know what she's doing. And that's kind of the value I'm providing. It's saving them all of that time, all of that stress, and knowing that the bride can rock up on her wedding day and it's all done and her dreams have come
mm,
to life and she hasn't had to think about it. That's the value I'm providing in that
yeah.
sense. So I think, I would just encourage listeners today to think about the value in that kind of sense, if they weren't here to do what they're doing, what would life look like for their customer? How would the customer achieve that outcome on their own?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an exercise that I really like that is really, really helpful in terms of finding out, what those future outcomes are that your customer is really looking for. And it's like you said, if a bride can save so much time, so much stress, I mean, organizing a wedding and being a bride is already stressful enough. I know you know that. I know that. Anyone else out there who's ever been married knows that. Having that stress taken away is such a value to people, and that is, like you said, like that's what you're paying for. And so the exercise that I really like to do, it's called what happens next. And so I really like to use the example of, say, a website designer. Say you design a website and that's the output that you're providing for your customer. What happens next after they get that website? Well, maybe they get more traffic to the website. What happens next? They get more inquiries. What happens next? They get more leads, they get more sales, they get more money. And I mean, you can take this further and further and further, and you can do things like, they earn more money, they pay their mortgage off faster, they go on more holidays, they're happier, they're healthier, they live longer. You can really, really take it quite far. But the more steps that you take in that activity, the more value you realize you provide. And I think it's so, so important for business owners to, like you said, really grasp and understand the value that you provide for your customers, because that is something that's going to help increase your confidence to charge those higher prices that you probably want to be charging, so that you can have a business that's really sustainable as well.
Yeah.
So Sarah, I'd love to ask you about, looking at the difference between your floral business and now your business coaching business. What are you doing differently, versus how you started the floral business versus how you started this time? What were some of the things that you did differently?
It's a good question. I mean, I feel like there is so much. And as I've already said, they're two totally different businesses. And that's been a huge journey I've been on, trying to learn how to market to a totally different customer. I think having a business in the past has probably made me more confident in my pricing, because I've realized that, time is money, time is valuable. So I think that's probably given me the confidence that I need to be charging a few $100s per hour for my services. I think I'm just trying to think back
Yeah, it's
a few
okay.
years ago to the start of my
Yeah.
floral business. I think it's really, really important if you're wanting to charge, quote unquote, high end pricing, or charge, anything of significance, I guess. It's so important to position yourself as, the expert in that field, whether, even if you're not a service provider, you want to position yourself as, that elevated brand who can charge X amount of money for their services. So I think that for me was quite important. I mean, for both businesses. And I think that's part of the reason my floral business kind of took off relatively quickly. I kind of did
Okay.
position myself as a pretty professional business from the start, still made many mistakes and had to change a lot of things along the way. But yeah, I think that question is quite complex, because the market is totally separate and totally different. And I think it's something I'm still learning and I'm still figuring out, if I'm honest.
Yeah. What are you finding now, now in your coaching business? Like, what are you finding the challenges are now that you're currently working through?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still on this journey, and I talk about value, and I talk about being confident in your pricing, but it's something that is still hard. I mean, you can chuck a price up on your website, but actually booking clients at that price point is another story. And I think, and you must find this too, you work with your clients, and you help them create a price that really fits them and their business structure. But then it's kind of the next step in terms of, all right, how are we going to market this? How are we going to sell this for this price point? And that's probably the struggle I'm at now. I'm kind of like, I know what my service is worth. I'm helping people
Mm-hmm.
create businesses that are going to help them attract better clients and help them create a business that feels good to them. But then it's selling that service, and
Yeah.
how can we bring customers through the door who are willing to pay that price point? And it's funny, I help people with it, and then it comes to my own business.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And but that happens to everyone. I think a lot of people worry about that. You know, the thing that we do for other people, we tend to be really good at it for other people. And then we go to our business and we're like, oh, I'm not doing the thing that I tell other people to do. And
Mm-hmm.
it happens to everyone. And I think the reason that it is so common is that we are on the outside of our clients' businesses and our clients' lives, and we can sort of have this outsider view and look in and go, oh, well, you know, here are the things, you know, I can see this. I think this is what you need to solve that problem. Whereas when you're in your own business, you're kind of in the midst of it. You don't have that outside view. So it's a bit harder than when you all of a sudden start thinking about your business. Whereas when you get someone else come in, they go, oh, just do this and this. And it just seems so obvious to them. And you go, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but it happens to everyone. It is very annoying, but it's good to know that it's so common.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know if you've had this happen before, but I've had coaching calls before, and I mean they've been life-changing, business changing, but the actual content they're sharing isn't amazing. And often it's kind of like, oh, like I did actually know that. I mean, not all the time, but often it is a
Yeah,
matter of I did know that, but I just needed someone to actually tell me you need to do
yeah.
this, or give me permission to make those hard calls or to make those decisions. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I think that's why having a business coach is so important because,
Mm,
as I said at the start, you can consume free content and, often you do know half of the answer, but you need someone
yeah.
else to kind of bring you through that process and help you actually make that happen.
Absolutely. For entrepreneurs out there who might be contemplating, you know, either changing their business completely like you did, or, you know, making certain changes to what they're charging or what they're selling, but they're held back by fear or uncertainty or doubt, what advice would you give them?
I think the first piece of advice would be to make sure that you're providing the value to ensure that you can charge that price point. It's not as simple as I'm going to whack on an extra zero to this number and hope that it works. And I'm a firm
We
believer.
wish.
I'm a firm believer in if you're raising your pricing, you need to make sure that that the value is meeting that price point. Um, I mean, if you're already providing the value and your price isn't lining up with that, then sure, just raise the price. But in most cases, I
Yeah,
find people are like, I want to raise my price, I want to make more money, but they need to do a bit of work in order to justify that. So that'll be my first piece of advice, to just make sure that you're going to be able to meet that expectation, I guess.
hmm,
And then my second piece of advice is to just do it and to trial it and go from there. I think, what's the worst that could happen? If fear is the only thing holding you back. I saw this little GIF on Instagram once, and it was a business coach. She posted something and it said how to raise your prices, and it was a little video, and it was like backspace new price, like publish the website. And I mean, I know it's not as simple as that, but I think sometimes we
mm,
can overcomplicate things a little bit. And I think
yeah,
more often than not, we do just need to realize, okay, this ball is in my court now. Like I need to make the decision. Am I going to do this? And
yeah.
am I going to, yeah, am I going to do it? And how am I going to make it happen?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I think you're right about overthinking. It's so common that we tend to overthink everything, especially when it comes to pricing, because we're worried about what other people will think. But most of the time, when you raise a price, I mean, unless you've done it at a really bad time or you've been insensitive about how you communicate it, generally when you raise a price, most people will take that as a sign of you being more experienced, or maybe they'll think that your costs have gone up, or they'll think that you're in more demand, right? They're not going to be thinking like, how dare she raise her prices. I think that people tend to feel a lot more fear and nerves around raising their prices than they need to. There is a
mm,
lot more room to grow upwards
mm,
than people think, and
mm,
even just raising it a little bit, most people are not going to blink an eye at that. And
yeah.
if your clients are people that really resonate with you, and they're your ideal clients, and they're people who love working with you, they might actually come back and say, oh my gosh, why didn't you do this earlier?
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of clients who go to raise their prices and they say, oh, my own clients were like, oh, I was wondering why you didn't do this sooner. And so they end up having a really positive outcome from it. So I think you're right. Fear is the only thing holding them back. It's a matter of it's a matter of recognizing when you're overthinking it, and
Mm-hmm.
when it's, when it's a case of, I really need to do what's fair for me, and I
Yeah.
need to stop overthinking about like how people are going to react to it, and just give it a go. Like you said, like
Mm.
trial it and test it.
And I think with that, I mean, that there are going to be times that people will turn you down because the price
Oh
is too
yeah,
high. Your price could be
absolutely.
$1 and someone else will find the same
Yeah.
thing for 10 cents. Like people people are going to turn you down for a
Yeah.
multitude of reasons. And I think, on that note, if you raise your pricing, someone comes to you and they go in another direction due to price. I don't want that to make you feel like you need to lower your price again. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe you do, but I would just recommend when you're making any kind of change in your business, you need to ensure that that change has time to just take root. And I love that phrase. Like, you
Yes.
want it to take root. You want it to give it time to be fertilized and be watered and give it time to see, is it actually working, or
Yeah.
do I need to actually change it, or do I just need to give it more time? So that would be my other piece of advice, change it and then just wait. Don't be tempted to like change it back down because one person said the price was too high.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I know it can be so discouraging when someone says thanks, but no thanks. I've gone with someone who was cheaper or who offered something else or whatever that looks like. I think, and this is, I guess, a little bit of a mindset thing, but something that's really helped me in those situations is just realizing like that person wasn't for me. Someone else is
Mm,
coming. And that means that I can use that time that I would have spent with that client to work on my business to get my next better
absolutely.
one. Not and like not seeing it as much as a loss, but just knowing this is an opportunity
Yeah.
to show up better or to do something different or to work on my business, and know that the next person is around the corner.
Absolutely. The follow on of that is that, a no is actually a gain, rather than
Mm-hmm.
seeing no as a loss, like you said, like seeing no as a gain. You're
Mm-hmm.
gaining capacity, you're gaining back the time and energy and attention that you would have given that client. You're
Mm-hmm.
gaining that back to give that to someone else who potentially could be a higher value client for you as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's exactly what you said in terms of it being a mindset shift of, rather than seeing no as a rejection, but no as a gain of capacity.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Awesome, Sarah. So we're just coming towards the end of the episode now, unfortunately. This has been a really, really fun conversation. But what's been the biggest thing that has helped you with your thoughts and attitudes around pricing in your business, in either business?
I think I always come back to this term of value. And I think I have a lot to owe to you for that because you
Oh,
have just drilled that into my mind. um, but it is so important. And I think that is something I always have to come back to when I'm launching something new or I'm creating a proposal for a client, is understanding my value and honoring that and knowing that it's worth that. And as we've already said, I could be spending time serving this client, or I could be spending time working on other things within the business to grow it, at a quicker capacity or whatever that looks like. So
yeah.
I think when it comes to pricing, and this is something I talk about with clients as well, and not that I'm a pricing expert, but I'm always saying, what you do has value.
Yeah.
So how can we create a price that lines up with that? Whether we need to ensure that their services are being tweaked to meet that price point, or do we need to tweak the price point to meet in line with what they are already providing? So I think that's just a huge thing that I'm always coming back to is, how am I serving my clients? What value am I providing for my clients? And how can I ensure that they are, I guess, yeah, paying a price point that is suitable to that. And understanding that, when you're taking money, like you're not taking from them, like you are
Yeah.
you are giving something to them. And I think that's a huge
Yeah.
mindset thing people come to when they're setting a price, because they feel like they're taking. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
no, 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 like you're not. Like, this client is paying for you to provide, a transformation. It's another one of those gimmicky words, but they're,
Yeah.
they're paying for a transformation, they're paying for an outcome. And I think that's a huge thing that entrepreneurs run into is, but I feel like I can't take this much money from their bank account, like I feel like
Yeah.
I'm being
Yeah.
greedy, or
It's a big mindset challenge. It's really common.
Yeah. So, I mean that's kind of pricing as well as selling, but yeah, I hope that kind of makes
It's
sense.
no, definitely. And that's it's a fabulous answer because it's all about value, right? It's all about making sure that you are creating value that your customers want to pay for, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it at the end of the day. Pricing is really all about value. So, Sarah, this has been a really fun chat.
It's been
Thank you
great.
so much for coming along today. If anyone does want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, I'm spending a lot of time on the gram, on Instagram, so you can just find me at Sarah Luthy, Luthy. And my website, sarahluthi.com. And yeah, I'd love to connect. I have my own little podcast called The Imperfect Pursuit, and yeah, talk all about marketing and mindset and a whole lot of fun things for entrepreneurs. But yeah, I would love to connect with you.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, I do recommend checking out Sarah's podcast. It is beautiful and very, very well done, and lots of good tips shared on there. All right, perfect. So episode 9 is all done. Wherever you're watching or listening to this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review if you're enjoying it. Don't forget, you can find more great content on my free Facebook group, Pricing on the Cake. That's all from us today. Until next time, bye.
Bye.